Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Hello, welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette and I'm your host. Today we have Sian Young, co-founder of the Center of Sustainable Action and SDG assessment app, where she is on a mission to empower you to discover your sustainable business. She has one request today: keep your heart open as we build cooperation, because that's where the magic happens. So welcome to my show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm looking forward to, like I said, having a nice chat with you about what we're doing.
Yeah, and I'm curious, what are you doing? Can you go a little bit deeper? What is your purpose about this planet and how this can be connected to profit?
Basically, the cooperative, as you see in my background, is a cooperative for SMEs and entrepreneurs to support them to build sustainable enterprises. And there's a few reasons that this came into being. One is that I had a dream about it in 1991. I dreamt about a place where human beings would take care of themselves and each other and the planet. And then, unbeknown to me, in 2012, my co-founder had a dream of a center where businesses would learn to build strategy into their business to become sustainable enterprises with zero negative impact on the environment. And so we met in 2016 and we realized we had the same dream. And the dream was to build the center, to build a place where the human element of sustainability was taken care of, but also the strategy for them to do it was provided, and the guidance for that, and the community. So that is what we're doing. And then through doing this, we realized that we needed a tool to make it easy for an entrepreneur or SME to start their sustainable reporting journey. In my heart, I know, and in the knowledge that I have, I know that the regulations are coming down all the way to SMEs. And whereas before there is a lot of, you can do it, but you don't have to do it. Like, it's getting to the point where if you don't do it, you won't be able to bid for certain contracts. It will negatively impact the small business community. And I'm passionate about the small business community. I know that we're 98 to 99% of business. It fluctuates, right? And if we're that much of business and the economy, then we have the power to come together, share our expertise, learn how to do it better, learn how to become sustainable, but build a new way of doing business where our families and our health is in there. Because you're not sustainable if you're like hustling so hard that you're sick or you can't spend time with your children, or you're not focused on your own well-being and your own personal development. So the center is the ecosystem human element, and the app is the tool that is built in 12 years of research in sustainable business strategy, that is a verified tool for sustainable reporting. So it eradicates greenwashing. It also eradicates confusion for an SME or for a corporation cleaning up their supply chain. It eradicates confusion of reporting, and it also is very quantitative. It's not like numbers and data, numbers all the time. It's also the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. It's about reaching them. It's about the human element, the environmental, the well-being, all the 17 goals, basically. So that's what we're doing. We've built a beautiful ecosystem with the heart, the human, the well-being, the strategy for business, and the verification and reporting from deep research.
Okay, so this idea of becoming sustainable is in the world, I don't know, for many, many years. So I already wrote my master thesis about sustainability audits. And this is about, I don't know, 30 years ago or something like that. So what is this time different than all these kind of ideas about eco-labels and audits that we have had in former times?
The difference that we're bringing is the verification part, and that it's built on research. Because even recently, companies like Vera, who are carbon offsetting that Gucci used and Coca-Cola used, have had 3 peer-reviewed research papers come out proving that about 90% of their offsetting is just thin air. It doesn't exist. There's no verification at all about what's happened. So we're saying that we also understand how to talk to SMEs. I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years now. And so the app is built with that flexibility in mind, with that ability for somebody who's running around doing every bit of their business, and now they suddenly have to think about reporting. It's very quick and easy for them to go through, and the centre provides the human support to keep them on their journey. The app, you commit to a project within the SDG framework for your business, and then the centre helps you make sure you do it. So we're all about action. There's been loads of reports without action. There's been loads of fictitious carbon offsetting that has not been doing anything, which is a shame, because then it damages trust. So what we're building is the trust element of like a verified starting point for SMEs and entrepreneurs, and for corporations to look at their supply chain. And the difference as well is we've been hit by a 2-year pandemic. People who are the ones who run the businesses now know that maybe it was something they could have chosen to do, and maybe it was like a good feel-good thing. It's not anymore. It literally is something we have to do, and we have to come together and do it together. Cooperation makes business sustainable.
So what is kind of the regulation behind? You said at the moment it's still a nice to have, but sooner or later this can become mandatory. So there are some regulations in place that perhaps are pushing this idea as well. Can you go a little bit deeper into that topic?
Yeah, it's called the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. And this is a protocol that's coming for corporations. So basically, it's coming in 2023 this year. So basically, corporations are going to have to prove the sustainability of their supply chain. And 77% of supply chains are small to medium businesses, SMEs. So what is going to happen is that if their SMEs cannot prove their sustainable actions, or at least they're starting the journey and doing something, the corporates are going to have to cut them from the supply chain, which means the corporation's costs are going to go up. They don't want to do that. They want diversity in the supply chain, and they want the good prices that they can get from individual small businesses. So, and the small business will not be able to bid for corporate contracts. There's regulation that's just come in, a protocol with NHS, that anybody bidding for a contract with NHS has to have the social element within their contract. So there's so many businesses that just don't have this, and they've not really thought about it, and just giving to a charity, like without any sort of connection or proof of what your giving is doing, what your company is doing socially, is not enough. So if you're looking to work in the supply chain anywhere in the NHS, this is going to be a problem for you as a small business. But this is where the cooperative comes in as well, because we're a not-for-profit. So we take corporations who are bidding for contracts, and we basically then use the funds to make a place available for an SME to become sustainable. And so that is a social impact giving. So we can support them with procurement. So, yeah.
So it's about sustainability, but it's also about the social part, which is about also their own employees, I would think.
Yeah, and the impact of the people that they have in their supply chain. you know, the modern day slavery thing, and like you said, their own well-being practices within their business and the social impact they have on local communities. And then you're moving into the governance part, which is the ESG, environmental social governance. You're moving into the governance part. And if you don't have like the mechanisms in place to track what you're doing and check that you have a sustainable government system, then you can't bid for these contracts as well. So that is what we're saying to SMEs. And so far, SMEs have not seen this as a fire they need to fight because they're so busy getting customers in and fighting their fires within their business. And this is a fire that's coming down that is like, we need to do it now. We need to take action now.
Yeah, so I've heard about the ESGs, of course, or about the ESG, of course. And for me, this again is something that is pushed on the one hand, that of course it is necessary to be very resourceful with what we have here as resources on our planet, to see how we can have a good life cycle of products, to understand what resources we are using and how they can be reused, for example, or how they can be recycled, etc. So one thing, this is like old stuff, I would say. Then the social aspect, to understand, okay, how can we work together? How can we have our impact that is supportive not only for our business, but also for the community and for all the other corporations we work with as well. And then, of course, the governance part. At the same time, I see that a lot of control is coming down with this kind of regulations. So this means that a lot of things have to be make him visible. That is perhaps protected information within the company, but also like showing data that is, how can I say this in English? Sometimes I'm struggling with the words. That is kind of just giving out for greenwashing, so to say. So you said your app is already kind of tracking this and helping with this, but how can we figure out if it is not like we have to give out data that is not or should not be visible for the outside, and as well that it is not greenwashing that is happening?
Well, what we do, we have different ways the app is used, right? So we have a level 1 that's SME, an entrepreneur, and that's the start point. So they do an assessment on the Sustainable Development Goals, all the 17 SDGs. And this has a few reasons. Reason 1 is to education and awareness. Still, so many people don't understand the SDGs. And then it's also to highlight to that business what ones are actually a risk to their business, what can cause their business damage, right? Risk. And what ones are core to their business. Some businesses know. Some businesses never realized that they were operating with the core and the heart of their business towards what is one of the SDG goals. So it helps a business first identify that. And then it helps them make a commitment to, let's say it's good health and well-being. My coaching practice, that's one of my core goals because it's sustainable lifestyle and health and well-being. And so I would make a project, like I have a 5 days to eco-living like process that I take people through. And so I commit at the beginning of the year to create that project. And then I decide how much it would cost my business to create that, how many people I want to impact by that, how many people I want to go on the course, and how am I going to decide whether they did have a sustainable living. And you go through all that thought process, and then you commit to that project, and then you take your carbon calculator, so you see your footprint right now, where you stand. And these are country-specific carbon calculators. We don't have a one-size-fits-all, which we know a lot of people are getting to see. This because we know that each country has different metrics and different heavy use in coal or heavy use in nuclear. So it's different. And then you're at that point as an SME and you know, okay, I'm here. We know what SDGs they don't know about. So then we provide educational through the center, educational pieces and opportunities to expand their knowledge in the other SDGs. And they've committed to a project that is pertinent to their business, and we support them through that process. And at the end of the year, they go through a verification process, a desktop audit, to make sure that they've completed what they said they were going to complete. And then they can commit again. They can do the level 1 again, depending on the size of the business. Or then we have a level 2. And level 2 goes a lot more in depth, and it has 25 questions that come from research into sustainable business practice and best practice. So these, we guide them along that. So we're kind of sending them on a risk and business maturity journey. And that more SMEs are more likely, that are like at the higher level of employing about 80, 100 people, would be more interested in starting there. And then we have enterprise, where we have supply chains that need to monitor their carbon footprint monthly, their waste monthly, and run projects within their supply chain to get their supply chain on board to start reporting, so that the corporation can have a clear, honest report of their business operations, including their scope 3s, greenhouse gas emissions, basically. So that's how the app, how it works to help support all the way through. Because we understand, if you're an SME, an entrepreneur that's never reported before, there's no point us going into the heavy data-driven steps and dehumanized, computerized steps when you're an entrepreneur who's maybe a hairdresser, and you're like, you don't get it. So then what we've got is this big chasm of action, where if you're a corporation who has a sustainability department, then you can manage the data-driven type analytical view, but that still does not serve the social, the human, because that's quantifiable data. You can't deal with that by looking at numbers, you know? So then that's how the app covers that whole range of people. And what we're doing is we're bringing the small business owner on a sustainability maturity journey through yearly reporting and development, using the app and the center, the whole ecosystem to support that human, you know, because there's so much as well. There's so much fear for people when they're making change. You know, there's fear because they know it's a change they're going to have to make. So they've already got that energy. It's fear because they don't understand it. They're not that wired that way. Like entrepreneurs, like I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. Like we move different than a corporation department, you know? So that's the power of what we've built, is that it's encompassing in a human, collaborative, cooperative way, using the SDG framework, which has been here since 2015, which is global goals. Everybody is agreeing, let's go that way. So we bring that understanding in and that education in. And then, yes, we have an enterprise level, and that is built around what the corporation needs to see from its supply chain.
Yeah, you speak again about the goals we agreed on. I think a lot of people are not in this topic, so for them it's like, okay, perhaps we agreed on no, we want to be more sustainable, but what are these goals? So can you go a little bit deeper into the goals, and what kind of how they are created, or who is behind these kind of goals?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, for one, I'm not the expert on the whole goals, because we actually have a workshop that's a 3-hour workshop delivered by Delwyn Langdon, and she's been in the goals since they were founded, right? So I'm just saying that for Delwyn, because I know she's going to do a better job here than I'm going to, right? But I know that in 2015 that it was 178 countries adopted the Agenda 21, which was the 17 goals, okay? So we have goal 1, and I'm going to look at them here, because if you can remember the 17, then you're awesome. Yeah, exactly. But I am actually in the middle of writing a series about these goals, an educational series that's going out on LinkedIn. So yeah, I constantly go back and dive into them, and that's the point of the app as well. It's like, not to remember it and make the whole global change in a day. It's like, let's actually just start doing it. So number one, no poverty. And do you want me to go through all 17 goals?
Give us a short overview, not really going deep into that,
Yeah,
but
cool.
the ones that are important for your work as well. So I'm sure a lot of people never heard about these goals and are not in the topic. So for them, it's totally new to hear about Agenda 21 or now Agenda 2030 or however they call it. And
yeah, so basically the goals they're quantifiable. It's not quantitative. So it's not numbers, data, it's human impact, global impact. It's like outside effects we do and what it has on the planet. So we're looking at cleaning up water, racial inequality, reduce all inequalities, sustainable cities, smart cities. We were just finalists in Acela City Global Accelerator. It's run by Boston, and they're very smart city technology. So there's amazing fun stuff going on in that arena. And like I said, my coaching business main goal was sustainable health and well-being, which is goal number 3. So there's a whole bunch of goals: decent work and economic growth. Now, if 98% of businesses are entrepreneurs and they're struggling to get money, and some of them are, a large percentage, they're not getting, the policies are not written for them because they're so individual and all over the place, but they're 98% of the economy. You know, doesn't it make sense to have decent work and economic growth by supporting the 98% of the economy to be able to be empowered to have policies that support them? And then you're going into inequalities, women in workplace. We all know that, racial inequalities. So it's like if you were to think like all the things you want, right? Sanitation, clean water. We need clean water. Water shortages is a major issue impacting us. And so many of us in the Western cultures don't really get it yet because we can turn our tap on. We can shower every morning, you know? So there's stuff happening that we're all connected. It all knocks on us, and the 17 goals are about addressing that, you know? And that's what's exciting. We're actually finalists at the moment as well for a Decelera, which is a SDG focused accelerator program for our app. And when they had the application form, what SDGs does your business do? And we're quite excited because we get to click all 17. Because through helping individual businesses pick their goal, we are picking all the goals through supporting the collaboration of all the businesses to do their individual goal. So that's what's really powerful. And the goals have been agreed, like I said, 2015, 178 countries. And there's so much free information on them online. Just type UN SDG goals in Google and you will get all the information you need. And then, like I said, the assessment makes it easy for you to figure out which one is pertinent to your business.
Yeah, so I think this is a good idea to really have a look and understand what is behind of these kind of goals, and also understanding what kind of consequences will you have when you not work accordingly. And I think that it is pushed a lot at the moment about this topic of carbon dioxide problems or whatever you call that. On the other hand, I think that we had so long already working on these kind of topics, and I will just speak from my own experience because I've been in this like for 30 years. And there have been over and over the same commitments with whatever audit it was, and okay, it becomes a little bit more diverse now with different kind of topics coming in. But if the people or the businesses really had the idea that it is important to make this kind of change, a lot of companies wouldn't exist. So, and I can call out some very big ones that definitely supporting poverty, supporting discrimination, supporting destroying the planet, and they are big in the market. So if we really go through that and say, okay, we make now the point and really work after these kind of goals, what would happen to these big companies? I will not call out a name, but you know what I'm talking about. What will happen to them?
I think the problem's big enough that it's not if you do it, then it will bring risk to your business. It's if we all done it together, we would sort them out, you know, and what we have been learning over the years is people have thought sustainability is an afterthought, you know, it's going to cost me money. Nobody's seen the money come return, you know, the ROI, $1 in, $1 out for doing a sustainability project in your business. But now, especially after the global pandemic that just happened, people are realizing that we need to do it. So if you've got the audience that we're looking at, SMEs and entrepreneurs, and you pick, for instance, I have someone at the center who makes handmade creams, and they're a very small business, but they get organic supplies from other small businesses. So by them being in operation, they're helping, and they'll only pick the organic supply because they've done the assessment and they know what they've committed to, right? If they start doing that and all the other small businesses start doing that, it's not affecting a big business doing that because the problem is big enough. And that's what I mean. We've got this mindset of competition. It's you or me. But actually, the whole idea is that there are enough resources for everyone. And when somebody kind of covets it and is scared to be free, like I said, you said at the beginning, open heart, collaborate, and not be afraid that by collaborating, that means something's going to be taken off their table. Because we all, when we get down to it, we're all trying to feed our families and have a good life, right? So this whole way of doing business needs to change. This whole way of competition against each other, of lack of resources, needs to change. So I'm not worried about if 98% of the business acts sustainable, that one big business who had sustainability product is going to suffer, because if we sort out these goals, we all win. Because while somebody else is suffering, nobody's winning. Whether they've got a bigger portion on their plate or not, they're still not winning, because it's a self-consuming system. At the moment, we're in a system that, you know, if people have got big amounts that they covet and they hold, and then there's people getting less and less and less. But in the end, it's going to burn itself out, because once you take all and other people have none, you can't take anymore. There is an end point to that kind of operation. So I think we've got to change our mindset to cooperation, collaboration, and just open that heart a bit, stop the fear, you know, stop the resource hunger and the dehumanizing of people at the end of your supply chain. You know, people who are shelling cashew nuts and they're getting poisoned off the juices, you know, like kids working in factories. Like, how can you buy cheap clothes and wear them on your back, looking at the bad seams, but realizing it's probably because a kid made it? You know, that's like we've been taught that we need so much that we don't actually need. And then there's so much mental health issues, so much loneliness. And what we need is community and collaboration, you know? So yeah, I'm not worried about that. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think that if we truly look at that and understand how we can collaborate and figure out, okay, we are producing as a small business something that is really sustainable. And of course, we want to have only ingredients that are organic and sustainable as well. I think in some cases, this is the only way to continue our living. On the other hand, I see that, like, for example, you gave the example of clothes. What about, for example, the batteries that are now used for the cars? So we have the same problem, like all the material that, or a lot of material that comes in comes from work that our children are doing because they take out these kind of elements of the soil. And still we have this label that a car that drives with batteries is something that is sustainable. From seeing the whole life cycle and especially looking at the ESG, this is not.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, so what I see is that there is really a very deep need of behaving this way and bringing businesses into this sustainable and social cooperation and co-working place. But on the other hand, I see that still there is so much disinformation out what people think is sustainable. And so how do you think about that? Like, this kind of, for me, these are two different things, like what is really needed and what is kind in the media and told people is sustainable.
Yeah, no, what I'm going to say now is leaning more on my opinion about this, because I want to ask who done the life cycle analysis for batteries operated cars. You know, who done that? Was it a company like Vera who've just been shut down and found out that 90% of their carbon offsetting was not even there? You know, so this is the beast that we're dealing with, is that we have companies who will greenwash, some unbeknown, like some small companies, like they just don't understand the journey, but some are deliberately, you know, hiding their operations. And so there's a big drive from governments to go green cars, go electric cars. But then, like you've just said, the issue here is that nobody did do a proper life cycle analysis and spotted that the kids drawing this out of mines is not a sustainable business. So thus battery electric cars for everyone is not sustainable, you know, and that's what I'm saying. The problem is so big. It's so diverse in so many areas. Like you've just talked about the batteries, and we've talked about the clothes industry, you know, construction industry, pharmaceutical industry. There's so many, finance industry. Like, this is a big problem. And that's what I'm saying, why we need to come together with the 98% of business to start standing up and being powerful enough as a collective to stand up, because people like you who run your business, you're aware of what's going on. You know, you've operated in this area for so long, but have you ever joined a cooperative and a community of other businesses that also feel the same way? And the businesses are all different awarenesses, right? Because in numbers together, we are stronger, right? And so these sort of things that are happening, imagine if there was a collaborative round table of businesses who, like you've just stated, are highly aware that the batteries for cars are not sustainable, and came up with a better idea, a better solution. You know, there's a lot of smart minds in small businesses, in entrepreneurs, really smart problem-solving people. But the way the system works is that they're so busy fighting fires that brilliance is not joined together with other brilliance. For instance, I mean, this is like a preview. We have also created a game tool in the metaverse for businesses to come together. And for instance, if you take the construction industry, if we have someone there who has a construction business and wants to be more sustainable, and then we have there someone who creates and makes concrete, but wants to do it in a more sustainable way. And then by coming to the event, they learn the tools and the knowledge with which to move forward to get them aims. And then they go through the app. So they verify that that's their target, is to produce more sustainable concrete. and is to build more sustainably. And then they meet each other and they come together and they help each other. So the construction company now has more sustainable concrete option, and they both have customers. So that's why I know the power is us coming together. Like, it really is. And that's why the cooperative here is built. And that's why it's a cooperative. The membership basically is you co-own the solution, because when you own it, you do more about it. And the whole idea is inside the cooperative, there's a learning management system, and there's just knowledge, and members, when they join, they share their knowledge and they give a course on the site. So it means the knowledge in there is growing, and then the community guidance to uptake that knowledge is there as well. And that's the whole idea, because you're not the first one, and you won't be the only one who's thinking, does anybody see that kids going down a mine for batteries for a car is not sustainable, whether they think it's a green car option? You know, you're not the only one, but when you're out there on your own as a business and you're saying, like, this doesn't make sense, and with all your knowledge, your 30 years experience in the industry, you're an asset for that conversation, but who's hearing you? So that's the point of the cooperative, is to say, come on, smart minds, SMEs, entrepreneurs out there on their own, like hustling and trying to make a difference in this world, like, come together. Because when we come together and share our knowledge and expertise, we become increasingly powerful. Our voice becomes louder, And then our aim down the line, when we have enough members, is to start changing policies for small businesses. For instance, in the UK, we saw big companies getting massive payouts during COVID and small companies shutting down. Small business owners sick because of the stress, because they're providing for their family, so that is the cooperative. And it came in a dream to me when I was actually on my sick bed. I was homeless for 7 years and then bedridden with malnourishment. And in my bed, I dreamt this. But then obviously I couldn't walk. So I was kind of like, what do I do with that? And then I've moved forward and met my partner, who had the business strategy research and tied it together. So yeah, I feel you. I understand that pain of areas that just need sorted out, but we can't do it alone. We need to come together now.
Yeah, and you said, of course, the knowledge or even the wisdom is often already there. And I just can go back to my own life. I built my house it's 22 years now, 23 years ago. So long time. And I really wanted to build a house a sustainable house with using only organic material and having solar panels that are based on also organic substances. They already existed as prototypes at that time. And you can make them from, you take 2 glasses, titanium dioxide, something that is a color, like you can press spinach or whatever it is, like something organic on that side, and a little bit of electrolyte solution in between. So these are panels that you can create very easily, and you can put them as windows you can look through. And so I had the idea, I've seen this as a prototype, and I said, I want to have this in my house. And I looked around, and I can say, until now, they don't exist. So that is like kind of crazy. We are creating, again, like solar panels that already need a lot of impact of resources and energy. So there will kind of never be really, from the aspect of sustainability, a return on invest. But the life cycle as well is kind of, what are you doing after that? Or windmills or whatever you have, like, this is garbage. Yeah. But yeah, having organic ones, you can deinstall them and everything is fine again. So I think all these kind of information are already there. They are somewhere in, I don't know, cupboards or like somewhere hidden or even suppressed, I think, because there are power companies or companies that have a lot of power that don't want that to come up. So
that's why we're better together. We're better together. Imagine that knowledge. You join the center, you put that knowledge in there, and then another person joins the center and puts their business knowledge in there. There's a local business just now who are about to plant kelp along the coast. And imagine if they put the knowledge that they have about that in the center. Then what happens is you have one area where the knowledge is held. One area where all these like-minded people are together, right? And then you have power when you have people together. So, yeah, I understand. I've been, wanting to build an earthship building, and then that's moved into all different earth bag. There's so much stuff out there, and you can search on YouTube, but that's the thing when it's all fractured and all over the place. And like you said, suppression happens as well, especially with health and well-being knowledge. I'm doing actually, which I haven't really shared much, but I'm doing, and this is what I said, we end up just chatting. I am doing a case study on myself for gallbladder. Now, gallbladder removal for women of my age, it's just like, you just do it, right? It's one of the most financially productive surgeries in the Western cultures like US and UK. And because I've been on the streets for 7 years, that amount of trauma, stress, starvation, my body's been through a lot. I've healed it through a lot. And it came aware to me a couple of years ago that my gallbladder needed attention. And so I went and got it looked at. My pancreas was translucent and my gallbladder was weak and thin walls, and they wanted to just chop it out. Now, I said, no, let me use my knowledge, basically. And also, I also employed someone who has higher knowledge than me as well when it comes to right down to the blood and what the blood's saying. And I tracked that. I got a Freedom of Information Act, took all my medical records in, and I noticed in my medical records a letter. I said no to gallbladder surgery. I did not want it, right? The doctor who recommended it literally wrote in the notes toward my doctor that I was very keen. They told me I had acute cholestasis, which is acute infection of the gallbladder, and they had to cut it out. They told each other, he told my doctor, no sign of acute cholestasis, but that she's very keen to get it out. So it was a direct lie, right? And when I went to speak to the surgeon, he treated me like I was, I know nothing. I was like born yesterday. And he drew me a picture that when I got my medical notes back, I actually thought my daughter, who's 3, had drawn on the notes. And that was him explaining why he was going to chop it out. So I went on I've been doing gallbladder flushes, and I've been taking focused supplements to improve my bile flow. And then I went back and got another scan, and my pancreas is now healthy. It's no longer translucent. My gallbladder walls are thick and healthy. I've still got some stones, but a lot has improved, right? Not suffering the pain. And so when I searched for options, it was very difficult to find an option that said I wasn't going to die if I didn't get it cut out, And so that, again, is like what you're talking about. So much knowledge that we have. If we weren't having this conversation, then your audience wouldn't hear that about gallbladder, They wouldn't maybe hear that about the batteries. So it's by having these conversations and joining together as a collective that we can share that knowledge and change the way it's going. Just take control of it.
What I'm seeing here in Madeira is that a lot of people have these ideas of creating communities and bringing together all their knowledge, like in permaculture, for example, or in alternative health, holistic health approaches, as you just described, in creating energy in a different way. So they are already here and figure out how can we bring together our knowledge and really make this happen. So a lot of projects are here that are already in creation. And I think that if we really want to change this and really want to make this happen, it is possible, because people have so much knowledge. And of course, most people wouldn't even know that I'm an engineer in chemical environmental technology if we wouldn't have this kind of conversation, because everybody knows me like a coach and consultant. So of course, this is like, I didn't use it for so long, because it was like, okay, nobody needs it and nobody wants it. And so why speaking with people? But of course, as I'm in this process for 30 years now, and I never stopped learning about what is really going on behind the scenes, and what is technology that is already kind of created, but only as a prototype, for example. But if you have money, you can make it accessible for everybody. So I think
accelerator programs are good for that. Like that Acela City one that I was on, amazing technology. I mean, and I'm glad you said about technology, because we've just done a report. The center also does audits and reports for NGOs or permaculture farms, like small businesses, to prove the effectiveness of what they're doing, right, through a researched report and then carbon footprint and then commitment to project through the app. We've actually just done one, and we have a collaboration with a permaculture farm and a high-tech remanufacturing solution for plastic waste. And our app is the one that measures and verifies the impact of it, right? And this is what gets me excited as well. Is like, it seems like NGOs over here, academia's over here, permaculture farms are considered a wee bit hippie, you know, and they're over here. Do you know what I mean? And everybody's like separated. Small businesses are over there and corporations are over here, right? And with this solution that we've got just now, it's really brought reporting, verification, high technology to the permaculture farm, to the ground. So this farm has now been able to go for 3 years funding from the Lottery Foundation with the report, because although they knew what they were doing was working and does work, nobody had written it down in proven it with research out there, that they're not only saying this working, there's research that proves what they're doing has this impact, you know? And that to me is an exciting proposition when you start tying together industries that never ever thought they had anything in common or could collaborate. And that's why I'm saying, when we come together and have conversations like that, you've got this idea, you know it can be done, right? And then you are in a community of other entrepreneurs that are like really high tech, and they're like, yeah, this is our solution, this is what we do. And that is really exciting, because like you said, there's a lot of tech out there that is doing amazing things, but it's not connecting with the people who are doing it sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And just as I said, I see that I have my feet in different communities, so to say. Like, I'm in tech, absolutely, but I'm also in this kind of hippie scene, as you told it, but probably they are not. But yeah, they have a different kind of mindset about how to work on the land. And of course, with science as well. And for me, spirituality comes within. So this is also like, is there something like a higher purpose? And I think that if you understand what is your business and understand why you are creating this right now in time, and you are passionate about what you're doing, you had this dream. So it is something like, also, it is your purpose, what you're doing. It is not just, oh, I just got a job, or I created my own job or business, but it's something that really drives you. I think this is also important to bring this in, to understand, okay, what is it that you really want to create in this world, and how can you make this happen for the higher good of humanity and this planet, of course.
And something on that for your audience, right? I told you I had the dream of the center, 1991. I actually have an old notebook somewhere where I drew it because I'm so visual, right? And I thought, I can't do that. I was in my sick bed. I was 6 stone and I couldn't walk. Like, how am I supposed to do that? So, but it kept there in my heart. You know, it kept there like I'm supposed to be doing this, right? So what I kept doing was I would build this business so that I can make enough money to do that dream, right? And I kept on that journey for so long. And it seems like that journey also gave me a lot of skills that has enabled me to step into this role. But before I stepped into the role of CEO of the Center for Sustainable Action, the dream in reality, I was so scared to step into that role. Like, what if I fail? What if I fail at this dream that was placed in my heart, obviously from a higher purpose? And then as time's gone on, I started to realize that it was given to me by a higher purpose. Actually, everything is starting to fall in place. Everything that I need is coming. And that doesn't mean that I don't have weeks where I'm just like, it's not going fast enough. I just don't know how I can keep doing this. You know, I need more resources. You know, our team is small and we're running, it's phenomenal. Like, and that's why I know there's the wind beneath our wings that's not ours, because what we've achieved, I think it's now, we've been finalists in 2 global tech accelerators, and we're not even 12 months old with the app. And the center is really, it's really starting to show what it's meant to be. The point will be that entrepreneurs and SMEs get their places sponsored by corporation and education, because we need 99% of business to be sustainable and operating now. And we need minds like you coming in and permaculture farm that you spoke about. We need all their minds together on this solution, collaboratively working. So yeah, like I am living my purpose. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. And sometimes that's easy and sometimes it's not. But yeah, stepping into that role can be scary. So if anybody's listening and their heart is telling them to do something, and then their mind is saying, yeah, but you need this in place first and you need to do this first, I would say just fail forward. Just step in and just start stepping. And then you start to realize, hey, I was meant to be here, you know? And then, you know, sometimes I think, well, maybe I should have done it earlier. And I'm just like, no, I'm at the right time, you know, and just be brave of how successful you can be, you know, and accept it. So yeah, on a spiritual aspect, this has been a God-given vision that has now become a reality. And some of the things we've achieved, like we couldn't achieve them on our own. There's definitely higher power behind this. Like, you know, sometimes like, well, actually every week I give thanks and gratitude for everything that I have and everything I've achieved, and meeting wonderful people like you online who are achieving and are seeing things growing, you know? So yeah, if you're thinking of doing it and it's in your heart and it keeps nibbling, you better just get it done, man.
Absolutely. And seeing your own journey, and you know, you said you have been homeless and very sick, and then this dream appeared. Often there is this kind of procedure that you have to go through a dark time to really come to connect with your higher spirit, and then something amazing will happen. And you have seen that from there on, there were synchronicities appearing. People came into your life that you would never imagine that this can be your reality. And you have this expanded vision of what can you create and how this can become bigger, and resources will come in as soon as you have clarity about what you need. I always say the universe is delivering. Yeah, you have to be very precise. Like if you go into a shop and want to buy something, you have to be very precise what you want to have. you have to be in emotional contact with yourself and why this is of such an immense passion of you, and then something will happen. I see synchronicity so often happening that is sometimes really like, oh, how can I come in contact with this person? I never thought about that. And now things are happening and moving, and then sometimes, okay, it feels like, okay, we need some more patience, but then the right moment is there. And you can't make this happen earlier because something else in between has to happen. So
yeah, I've been listening over the last 4 weeks to a sort of series, like a preaching series called On the Verge, right? And it's talking about being on the verge of something. And when you're on the verge, how hard it can get and how much you want to just go. And you're like, I don't know how long I can keep here on this verge. And it talks about being ready, like being ready to step in that role. Like, I didn't know I was going to be in Luxembourg, a finalist in a FinTech accelerator in December. We just achieved the Boston one, and we were so proud. And then I was just winding down for Christmas, and it was suddenly, I'm going again. And I had to be ready. And the minute I stepped off that plane in Luxembourg, I met the procurement officer for NASA, head of procurement for NASA, you know? And like, if you don't just ready yourself, and then when you think it should happen and it doesn't, because it never happens when you think it should, just be ready. Just say, right, okay, what can I do now then that prepares me for it? Because we have a lot of things that are on the verge of happening and they're not quite happened yet. And so I am saying, right, okay, what skills can I up level in me to mean that when it does happen, I'm even more ready? For instance, I'm learning French right now. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be like speaking French. So if I need to step into a country where business is spoken in French, then hey, I'm ready. I'm not in that country yet. I'm not doing that yet, but that's where I want to go. And that's where I feel I'm going. So I'm getting ready. And that's been such a powerful series for me to listen to, is just to just get prepared, get your shoes on, get ready, get armed up with the knowledge that you need, even if you can't see it yet, because when it happens, you're in the next level. And speaking from someone who's come from homelessness, living on the streets, I've had many verges, many changes of levels of life completely, and I never knew. And sometimes you feel like you're in a waiting room. It's like you've been creating very hard this new life. You've been working hard. You've been paying it forward. You've been projecting and working, but it's not here yet. But then you realize you're not actually in the old level of life that you were in. And I have been in a waiting room so many times. I remember the last waiting room, I was standing at a local lake and the water was so still. And that's when I realized, the time before has now finished and what I've been creating is about to come. So you have to be open to allow yourself to walk into that. But I've noticed that there's been a waiting room, like way back when times were even worse. One of the waiting rooms I experienced was I was absolutely exhausted. I had really bad PTSD. I was getting flashbacks of different trauma, and I lay curled up on my couch, and in my head I just saw myself on a ledge and just fire below me. And it was like I'd managed to drag myself out of there. And I had a moment before it changed into, then I raised a business and become an award-winning entrepreneur, and but there was a waiting room. So I would call that on the verge. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, for me, it's like being between the chairs, so to say, and already something that can be existing in the energy field is not there in the current reality, but it will manifest soon. And for us, it feels like, yeah, what you said, I've put in so much effort and done so many things, and now it's not happening. But yeah, you have to be, as you said, prepared for that. and perhaps there's some skill needing to learn, or there's someone else needing to come into your life, and this is not the right moment because you have to be in this plane and step out of the plane because there is a meeting point.
Yeah. And also in them times, if you look at it as it's a pit stop, like, you know, be kind to yourself. What self-care have you been slipping on? You know, like we're so much like it's got to be, and we're control of everything. We're not in control of everything. Don't even think we're in control of everything, because we're not. And when you let go and surrender to that, then it's okay. And just do a check-in. I always do a check-in. Am I eating? Yeah. Just had some food. Do I have a roof over my head? Uh-huh. Do I have love in my life? Yeah. Then I'm okay. So just take a breath. Am I tired? Then sleep, because it's going to happen, you know, and when it does happen, you'll need to be ready. So in the times of quiet and peace, when you're in that waiting room on the verge, just take care. Put your ducks in a row, get your best outfit ready and prepare, because when it clicks, you're off again. You know, it's like seasons, isn't it? Different seasons.
Absolutely. And this is so inspiring. And I think a lot of people already have this idea, okay, I have this whispering in my head that is there for a long time. I have this passion in my heart that is there. Perhaps I have already the skills. What am I waiting for? So prepare yourself, make yourself ready, and then step into what is your purpose. And yeah, bring out a business that is for humanity and that is definitely also for our planet.
Yeah, and come and join the Center for Sustainable Action, and we'll help you realize it as well, you know?
Yeah, so if people are now interested to join you, to come in contact with you, how can they reach out to you? So do you have a website, social media? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I am active mostly on LinkedIn. I no longer accept friend requests on Facebook because it's too many. It's too much, right? So LinkedIn, love chatting on LinkedIn. And it's just Sian Young on LinkedIn. And we have the Center for Sustainable Action is sustainableaction.center. That's the website. And then we have SDG assessment. So you can go there. And if you forget all of that, just Google Sian Young. And up I'll pop and just connect with me, you know. But yeah, I'm definitely saying LinkedIn's the easiest place to get me to respond. And the center, have a look at it, have a look at what we do. And we're having an AGM in February. So there are some changes, because the whole idea of the center is to provide scholarship places for SMEs and entrepreneurs by what we do with offsetting for corporations. So, you know, things are changing. So I would say get in contact with us, and you could be one of the first people to get the scholarship to the membership, you know, and come and join us and collaborate so you can get on the job and get this done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, amazing. I will put the links in the show notes so that it is easy for people to reach out to you. Last but not least, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't ask you?
Just maybe if people want to look at my book on Amazon. I don't think I gave you the link for that, so I can email it over. You could put it in the show notes. I have a book called Teenage Kicks that is basically my street story. So if you want to like delve into deeper into that, then yeah, get my book.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm sure that people are interested in seeing your story, like from being on the street and now being the CEO of this company. Is so amazing. And yeah, thank you so much for giving me your time and sharing all your insights and your wisdom and inspiring my audience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, we'll carry on.
Definitely. Speak to you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.